Hey guys, before we get into the video, if you like the background music that I use today, it is a beat made by a really good friend of mine, Half-Centric. Make sure you check the link in the description. It will bring you to his newest project as well as all of his socials. Go ahead and check him out. What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, and today I am bringing you what has to be the most requested video on my channel of all time. If you go and take a look at the Dracoslayer must-know combo tutorial, the most commented comment is asking for a deck profile, which is mildly amusing considering the first section of that video is me showing you the deck profile, so I don't know what that's about, but we're going to go ahead and bring it to you guys because the deck has slightly changed, and by slightly, I do mean slightly. It is only 3 cards different, 1 card in the main deck and 2 cards in the extra deck, but as a bonus at the end of the video, I am going to be showing you guys a new combo as well, specifically meant to destroy Tearlament, because as we know, we are in a Tier 0 format with Tearlament being the top contender, so let's go ahead and get on into it. Alright guys, so kicking things off, we have all of the Dracoslayers. We are playing 3 copies of Majesty Pegasus. This is obvious because this is honestly the best one. It searches your field spell, and there are 2 very importantly powerful field spells in this deck. So we'll get to those in the spells, but this card is just absolutely crazy. Not just can it search the field spell, but its scale effect is also absolutely crazy, being able to search you another Dracoslayer, and then the destruction of your other scale is optional, so if it helps you, like if you have like an Ignis or something, go ahead and destroy it. If it doesn't help you, you don't have to. I think that being an optional effect is absolutely wacky. And then next we have the 3 copies of Dynamite. This is another really powerful card, mostly for its pendulum effect, but its monster effect does come up at some points. For those of you that don't know, this can just summon your other scale, as long as it is a Dracoslayer, so that just puts a monster on board, which really helps you get into an early Beyond the Pendulum. And then we have our 3 copies of Ignis Phoenix. This card is mostly important for its monster effect because when it is destroyed, it allows you to special summon a Dracoslayer from your deck. And I believe it is also treated as a tuner. It's been a while since I played this deck, but that is also wildly important because in conjunction with something like the Majesty Pegasus, you can go ahead and search for a scale, destroy this, then you get a monster on board. So like if you have the Majesty and Ignis, you play both in your scales, you search Dynamite, pop the Ignis summon one from deck, activate the Dynamite summon the Majesty can then search a field spell, then you have 2 monsters on your board without Pendulum summoning, or even normal summoning for that matter, and that will get you into your Beyond the Pendulum. Then we have our 3 copies of Luster Pendulum, the card that I love to hate and hate to love. I remember when this card came out in 2015, it was like $2. Nobody saw this card as any sort of good. And then Pepe came out, and it was quickly a $60 super rare that nobody had because they were just giving them away, which is kind of funny. So I've had this set since 2015. I love this card. It's really strong. The fact that we have it at 3 now just shows how power-crept pendulums have been. But I think that it's a really cool card, and obviously you have to play it. It's a Dracoslayer in name. It is your tuner, and tuners are wildly important for this deck. And then the last Dracoslayer is going to be the 1 Majesty Pendulum, or Master Pendulum. The reason you have to play this is solely because it is a low scale that is a dragon. We are playing the Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, which can search for dragon pendulum monsters, so sometimes you just need a low scale, so you do have to play this at 1 of. Unfortunately, I wish I could cut it because it is kind of a brick, but worst case scenario, it's just a level 4 low scale. Then on to our normal summons, we are playing 3 copies of Magispector Raccoon Bunbuku. This is the better of the 2 normal summons in the deck because this can search your Majesty Pegasus. For those of you that don't know, that card is always treated as a Magispector monster, so you can normal summon this to search that, which is what makes this the better normal summon, because the other normal summon that we are playing is 2 copies of Skullcrobat Joker. Now, there's only 1, well technically 2, but really only 1 that we're going to be searching with the Joker, which is why it is the weaker of the 2 normal summons, and that is going to be the Harmonizing Magician. This is important because it is a tuner. Again, tuners are wildly important for this strategy, and it is able to summon a Magician from the deck, which we are playing the 1 copy of Purple Poison. So the reason Harmonizing is important is because it's essentially a 1-card Synchro 8, and if you don't already know, Synchro 8 is where we want to get to. And then for the last of the Pendulum monsters, we are playing 3 copies of the Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon. This is just one of the most insane cards in the deck. It's got 2 effects, neither of which are once per turn. You can pay 500 and discard it to search for a Dragon Pendulum, or you can put it in the scale and destroy it to resummon a Dragon Synchro. And again, spoiler for those of you that don't know, Ignister Prominence, a level 8 Dragon Synchro, is a soft once per turn, not an official term, but it is the term that the community has come to use, which means you can use its effect multiple times for multiple copies. Once it leaves the field, if it comes back, it is considered to be a different copy of the card, and therefore you can use the effect again. So once you have it on the board and you link it away, you can use the Revolution to resummon it, and that's just kind of nuts. And again, ending things with the pendulums, we are playing the 1 Astrograph Sorcerer. Shout out to Triff, the Pen God himself, signed this for me at the 2020 3v3 YCS. This is really good, especially in tandem with the Revolution Dragon, because Revolution Dragon destroys itself, so if you have the Astrograph in hand, you can use its effect, resummon your Ignister, activate the effect of Astrograph, search for another Revolution, and then you can just use the Revolution again, because again, it is not a once per turn effect, so that is really incredible. Then we are playing a couple of non-pendulum monsters. We have 3 copies of Kashtira Fenrir. The reason for this is because it is just a monster to put on your board in a worst case scenario. You are able to summon it and then normal summon any pendulum, and that gets you into Beyond, because Beyond only requires at least 1 pendulum monster. Not to mention, if you are able to leave it on your field, so if it's just an additional extender, the effect to be able to target and banish a card face down is absolutely crazy, especially with the end board that you guys are going to see. And then we are playing a small bestial count. We have 3 Magnamut. The reason we are playing 3 Magnamut is because Magnamut can search any dragon. That means that we are able to use this to get our Odd Eyes Revolution, our Luster Pendulum, our Master Pendulum. So it is just kind of utility to be able to search those dragons, as well as 1 copy of Bestial Druisworm, and that is going to be the monsters. Onto the spells, we have 2 field spells. We have the Necro Valley and the Sky Iris. Now, in my previous build, this was the change. Necro Valley was Mystic Mine, but obviously Mystic Mine is banned. Thank God, everybody hates that card. But Necro Valley is wildly important since it is a tier 0 Tearlament format. Being able to slap a Necro Valley on the field, especially the fact that you can search it off of Majesty, is very, very powerful, and I've won games flat out just by doing it. And then the Sky Iris is for the combo, because you can search the Odd Eyes Revolution off of the Sky Iris, so just kind of need it. We are playing 2 copies of Pot of Desires, just for consistency. There really isn't much in this deck that would be detrimental to banish, so we really don't care about it. Draw 2 is draw 2. And the last cards are 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. This is kind of a flex spot. It can really be anything you want it to be. If you're really, really scared of Tearlament, you could do something like Infinite Impermanence, because that just shuts down the Kit Kalos, which is very strong, obviously. But I like the ability to use Triple Tactics to steal something they have, or rip a card out of their hand, or in the worst case scenario, if I've truly bricked, draw 2 more cards, but these can really be whatever you want. I personally have them as the tactics, but it is the flex spot, and that is the main deck at 40 cards. Let's show you guys the extra. Alright, now the extra does have 2 changes, whereas the main deck only had 1, but we'll go over those when we get there. We are going to start things off with a copy of Dinosaur Power. This is just a really good fusion card. It is a contact fusion by tributing pendulums, so you can actually use this to activate the effect of your Dynamite in your main deck, tributing the Dynamite to summon this, then Dynamite will get its effect. And then because Dynamite gets its effect and adds 1 back to hand, this effect is live to special summon 1 from your hand, so I think that it's really good. And that's really it for the fusions. Onto the synchros, we are playing 2 copies of Ignister Prominence. You do have to play 2, because you make 2 during your combo, and again, it is not a once per turn effect, which is just really insane. The card is really strong, being able to summon a Dracoslayer from your main deck, but not just that, if you're going second, it non-target removes a card from the field, so really powerful in its own right. We have a Abyss Dweller because it is a tier 0 Tearlament format, so being able to make the Abyss Dweller means that Tearlament's just not going to have a good time. And we are playing a Magister Paladin because, again, it is part of the combo. You're able to get a search during the end phase, as well as being able to summon a Dracoslayer from your extra deck as material, or as further material for extension. But the cool part is that you can detach the Magister, or the Majesty Pegasus from it, and that puts the Majesty in the grave, which is important because we are playing Selene. So we'll have a Spellcaster in the grave for Selene, which is what makes that really good. And then these are the 2 changes because one of these cards is newly off the ban list. We are playing 1 copy of Tellar Knight Ptolemaeus, as well as a Stellar Knight Constellar Diamond. Now, unfortunately, you have to use the Ptolemaeus effect if you want to make Diamond on turn 1. You can't use the Diamond's effect to just slap it on the Ptolemaeus, because Diamond has to be summoned with its own effect via main phase 2. But if you are able to get 3 level 4s on board, you can detach them from the Ptolemaeus to summon the Diamond, and If you don't know what Diamond does, it says neither player can send cards from the deck to the graveyard, which means Tearlament really can't handle it. It is a 2700 attack monster, so nothing that they have that they can put on board, even like a Bestial or something, is able to run it over, meaning that they're pretty much just going to lose unless they're playing something that can negate it like a Forbidden Droplet. But I think it is very strong, and it is going to be part of the combo I show you, so make sure you guys stay till the end. And then the last XYZ that we are playing is a number 38 Hope Harbinger. You actually end on both this, the Diamond, and an Appaloosa in the combo, so you are pretty set to make sure that they can't out your board, which I think is really nutty. And that is it for XYZs. On to the links. We are playing one copy of Beyond the Pendulum, just really important for combo. The only downside is that you do have to pay 1200, so by doing that, you do put yourself in a bit of a sticky situation if you are going into time. What you should do is you should side a copy of Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, I believe is the name. It burns 500 for every special summon monster on field, and because it is a Dragon Synchro, you can reborn it and do that multiple times. So you can pretty much burn, even if you have to use this in time, you can burn your opponent for 1500, which is more than the 12 you have to pay. So yeah, I think that's really important. We are playing IP Masquerena and pairing it with Nightmare Unicorn. This is not necessarily part of the combo, but rather just utility that you have. What is part of the combo, though, is our Selene, because Selene is going to be able to reborn a Majesty Pegasus from our graveyard, which will let us extend even further. And then onto the link 4s, we have access code for game, Appaloosa, which is part of the combo, and World Sea Dragon Zealantis, which is also part of an anti-Nibiru combo that gets you a better board than you would have had if they didn't Nibiru you, which is kind of funny. But that is it for the extra. Let's show you guys that combo. Alright guys, so now to show you the combo, the really cool thing about Dracoslayer is that every single combo is a 2.5 card combo. You need 2 cards plus a card to discard, and in this particular combo, one of the cards is interchangeable, which is what we're seeing here. We can either open with the Luster or the Odd Eyes, because the Odd Eyes can just search the Luster, so that can be either or, which slightly ups the consistency of this combo. So the 2 cards we need are Magispector, Bunbuku, one of these 2, and any discard, that's the half card. For simplicity's sake, we're just going to show you the combo with the Luster. So what we are going to do is we're going to start off our turn by normal summoning the Bunbuku and activating its effect, which will search us a copy of the Majesty Pegasus. Then we want to activate both of our scales, and then we can use the Majesty Pegasus to search for a copy of Dynamite. We are not going to use the effect to destroy our other scale, because in this case we want our other scale to remain live. So we are just going to forego that. Instead, we are going to activate the Luster Pendulum effect to destroy the Majesty Pegasus, which will allow us to add another copy of Majesty Pegasus from our deck to our hand. Here we can go ahead and activate the Dynamite as a scale, which will let us use its effect to summon our Luster to our side of the field, and that is 2 monsters on board before ever Pendulum summoning, meaning we can go ahead and link both of them into our copy of Beyond the Pendulum. Now, Beyond the Pendulum on summon, we will pay 1200 life points, which will allow us to search a copy of the Harmonizing Magician, and now we are set to Pendulum summon. So we can activate our other scale, which is the Majesty that we searched earlier, and then we can Pendulum summon 3 cards. In this case, it's going to be the Harmonizing Magician, the Luster Pendulum, and the Majesty from our extra deck. This is going to then activate our Harmonizing effect to allow us to summon the copy of Purple Poison from our deck. Here, because the Luster is a tuner, we can use the Luster and the Majesty, and this is going to go ahead and Synchro Summon into our first copy of Ignister Prominence. And Ignister Prominence on summon, not on summon, but once per turn, we can use the effect to then go ahead and summon a Dracoslayer from deck, which will summon out the Majesty Pegasus. Now, this is why the discard is important. Because the Majesty Pegasus was summoned by the effect of a Dracoslayer monster, we can activate its effect to search any field spell, which we will search the Sky Iris and then discard our discard. Now, this can be anything. I just use the Magnamut because it's like the most useless card to have in this scenario when you're going first. So we are going to then get our Sky Iris, and before doing anything else, we will activate the Sky Iris, and that is very important because we need 3 spells on board, 1, 2, 3, because the next summon is going to use the Beyond the Pendulum and the Ignister to go into our copy of Selene. Now, Selene here is going to get 3 counters, again because we have 3 spells, which means we are able to summon a spellcaster from our graveyard, which is eventually going to be the Majesty, but we're not quite there yet. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to use the Harmonizing and the Purple Poison. Don't forget that the Purple Poison does get banished because it was summoned off the Harmonizing effect, and this will go ahead and synchro into our second copy of Ignister Prominence. Now, before using the Ignister Prominence effect, we are going to use the Sky Iris effect to destroy one of our scales. Does not really matter which one. This will go ahead and search us our copy of Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, which we can use a little bit later. Now we can use the effect of the Ignister here. This is going to go ahead and summon out another Dracoslayer from our deck. It does not matter which one, honestly. I just like going for this because if you do get Nibiru, this at least is some kind of recursion. But now we're going to go ahead and activate the Odd Eyes that we searched in our scale, using its effect to destroy itself, and this is going to allow us to resummon our Ignister from our graveyard. The Ignister here can then activate its effect again because it is not a hard once per turn, again, unofficial terms, but just the easy way of explaining it, which will allow us to summon a third Dracoslayer from our main deck. Again, it doesn't really matter which one, I'm just using all three names here because why not? We can then take the three names that we have, and this will go ahead and become our Ptolemaeus. And once Ptolemaeus hits the field, we can go ahead and use its effect, detaching 3 to rank it up into a XYZ monster that is 1 rank higher. In this case, that is going to be the Stellar Knight Constellar Diamond. Now we pretty much have a lock for tier that they can't really get out of easily, but it gets better because now we can activate the Selene, removing 3 of those counters to summon a spellcaster from our graveyard, which is going to go ahead and be the Majesty Pegasus. We will then take the Selene and the Majesty Pegasus, and we will link these into an Appaloosa. Now, a 2-material Appaloosa doesn't really sound all that good, but given the format, the diamond is pretty much enough to seal every deck's fate, so we don't really have to worry about it, but we're not done yet, because we do still have these 2 level 8s on board, which if you don't already know, we're going to go ahead and overlay them into a copy of Hope Harbinger, making us immune to spells as well, because one of the ways that they can out this is if they have the Tearlament field spell, but this makes the Tearlament field spell not a problem, and that is going to be the combo. We end on 2 monster negates, a spell trap, or just a spell negate, but it is also an attack redirect, meaning that they cannot just swing over the Appaloosa as well, and your opponent, well, neither player, but mostly your opponent, can't send cards from the deck to the graveyard, meaning that Tearlament is entirely turned off. And there you guys have it. That is going to be my Dracoslayer deck profile, plus a bonus combo tutorial to make sure that you know exactly how to defeat tier if you are lucky enough to win the dice roll and go first. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know the deal. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends, maybe consider supporting me on Patreon. I get a lot of comments asking about the side decks, and side decks are something that I do post on my Patreon. I know that paid content isn't for everybody, so there's absolutely no pressure to check it out, but just want to let you guys know that if you ever want these side decks, they are there for the lowest tier, which is again just $1. I would greatly appreciate the support, but thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I will see you in the next one.